It's 5 a.m. I've just gotten out of the shower, and I have some thoughts about the Priory of the Orange Tree. Some shower thoughts, I guess you could say. I read this book a few weeks ago, and it's been kind of in my head ever since, um, because I was frankly surprised at. I'd heard so much about it on the internet, so much praise, and it's just not good. Um, really disappointing. This book was given to me by someone who knows I read fantasy but hadn't really read the book. So said, "Oh, I heard you might like this," and gave me the book. And I read it, and the characters are, flat and boring, and the storyline is kind of entirely unoriginal. The book reads as if the book's over 800 pages long, I think, but the actual story reads as if it's like an abridged version. The Prior of the Orange Tree is like if you tell somebody who doesn't read fantasy that you read fantasy, this is what they think you read. I've seen Priory of the Orange Tree compared to both Tolkien and George R.R. Martin, and frankly, like, people must have not read either of those before making that comparison. The prose is simply not at an adult level, and if this book was marketed as YA, then I would be much more forgiving, but even then, it's just not that good. There are plenty of YA books that I would totally recommend that an adult reads because the prose is well done and can be interesting for all ages, but this is straight up like a 12-year-old reading level. Just because a book is long, it doesn't mean you can compare it to other authors who write long books. The story has been described as deep, when in reality it seems incredibly shallow. None of the cultures seem unique. All the locations seem incredibly formulaic. Some of the largest praise that I see for this book is that it is feminist. And I think, to be feminist in literature, being feminist is one part of that, and being literature is the other part. And I think this book does not achieve the literature part. This also points to the idea that I stated earlier that people who read this book don't really read fantasy because modern fantasy is actually full of well-written feminist literature. Read Gideon the Ninth, read Red Sister, read Jade City, all books that are better in every single way, and tell a good story, which, that is important if you're trying to write feminist work. Great goal, good job. But then if you just like write a bad book, then you're not really helping anybody. So if you're thinking of reading The Priory of the Orange Tree, I would say skip it. This is 800 pages of a waste of time. Ultimately, what I've learned here is don't get your advice from the internet. It's full of idiots who don't know anything.